Hey, you guys, we're going to be doing our best with the time that we have to talk about what is Christian nationalism and who can define it. Let's find out.
Real Life presents the Jack Hibbs podcast with intention and boldness to proclaim truth, equip the saints, and impact our culture. Today, if this podcast lifts you up and encourages you to live a more fulfilled life in Christ, then make sure you leave us one of those 5-star ratings. To us, that's like saying amen or yes. Then that rating will encourage others to listen. Now open your hearts to what God's Word has to say to you. Here is Jack Hibbs.
Hey, everybody. First of all, welcome. I want to thank you guys for being so sweet to me by sending me notes and stopping me, literally, in stores and in malls, at the beach. I'm not kidding. And the number one comment that I get from people, especially young people, is not the Sunday sermon, not the Real Life Network, not the radio broadcasts that were syndicated almost on 1,000 stations nationally, which is amazing. All this not ABC News, not ABC or Fox broadcast, by far, podcast, especially among young people. So thank you. Always hit subscribe, give us 5-star, and share it with others. But this is going to be like, because I don't even have time. I shouldn't even be starting this podcast because I'm already out of time. But let's just get this started right now, if you would. So the issue, I don't even call it an issue, the entertainment. Can I do it this way? And I'm going to be extra sarcastic today, just because this really makes me happy to talk about. Is watch this. Are you ready? Especially pastors out there. Are you ready? The conversation going on around our nation that's heating up, and it's going to heat up until November 4th. And that is Christian nationalism. Oh, Christian nationalism. So listen to what, who is this I'm reading? Google. Listen to this. Before I read Google's definition of Christian nationalism, I want to have you write down what you think Christian nationalism is. Define it. And by the way, by all means, go ahead, because you'll have just as much of authority to define it as CNN does, or Politico. Why? Because nobody is defining it rightly. I have not yet heard an accurate definition of Christian nationalism yet, which should give you a warning about it's kind of COVID-esque, where tell us, experts, tell us what COVID is going to do to us. Oh, okay. Hey, you experts over there, tell us what COVID's going to do to us. And they're all giving you different answers. This is so hilarious. NBC, Fox, CBS, CNN, The Atlantic, New York Times, LA Times, the Chicago Sun, all of them have different definitions of what a Christian national is. You know what that means? It means nobody knows what it is. Okay, so here's Google's. I think it's Google's we're talking about. A person who strongly identifies with their own nation. Okay, if you're a Canadian, you absolutely strongly identify with your nation, even if you hate your country. All right? So every human being who lives in a country strongly identifies with their country, if they like it or not. They are citizens of that country. The only way that the only reason why you would deny that statement, even from Google or Wikipedia, Google, is if you're a globalist. Are you a globalist? I denounce Islamic nationalism. I denounce atheistic nationalism. I denounce Christian nationalism. All right, fine. Just define it, because let's be honest, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not take the label Christian nationalist serious at all. In fact, I've really made a lot of people upset because I don't take them seriously about what they're talking about. I'm going to be on news outlets today, on televised news programs, and they want to talk to me about Christian nationalism. I'm going to have a ball. I'm going to have a blast. I can't wait, because those news programs don't even know what they're talking about. It's a lot of fun. So, anybody talking about Muslim nationalists? How about atheist nationalists? Tell me about it. Talk to me about it. What about Buddhist nationalists? Here's a religion for you. Marxist nationalists, socialist nationalists, Nazi nationalists. Why is anybody talking about that? There's a reason why it's being brought up right now, and there's a reason why a certain select group of people are defining what a Christian nationalist is. Notice, I'm not hearing Christians define what a Christian nationalist is, because Christians, frankly, don't care to be painted with a paintbrush by others who don't even know who we are. Somehow CBS knows who we are. And yet when they define us, that's not who we are. So Google is saying a person who strongly identifies with their own nation and vigorously supports its interest. If you're Peruvian and you believe in your Peruvian government and you live in Peru and you stand for Peruvian rights, more power to you. In fact, I just got done going through a deep dive podcast the other day about the history and legacy and pedigree of the Putins. You mean Vladimir Putin? Nope. The Putins. Did you know this? I didn't know this. That Vladimir Putin comes from a long line of Putins. Do you know what the Putins are all about? I didn't even know this. Wow. You need to find out why Vladimir Putin is a Russian nationalist. But no one's talking about that because no one cares about that. They care about Christian nationalists right now because they're terrified that somebody who owns a Bible and believes in Jesus and has a cross around their neck, maybe not. They might go so far as to have a sticker on their car, but they're going to vote. We can't have these people voting. Oh my gosh, we've got to stop them. How can we stop them? Well, they strongly identify with their nationality, with their nation. They vigorously support that nation's interest. We've got to stop these people. Isn't it bizarre, you guys, that all the woke, whack nut, progressive, insanes are strongly identifying with their interpretation of a nation, in this case, the United States, and they vigorously support their interest for that nation? Chris Cuomo, Don Lemon, Oprah Winfrey, they're all, listen, liberal nationalists. They are all progressive nationalists. They might even be atheist nationalists. But you see, they're smarter than we are when it comes to labeling people, because when I say smarter, I say that sarcastically because they love to label. They have to label people that they can't figure out. Okay, so I am, according to Congress, right, I am a white supremacist, which is hilarious. Really? 50% Portuguese. So does that make me a white supremacist, or am I a Portuguese supremacist? What am I? I don't know. How can you label me something when I don't even know what I am? On and on it goes. Oh, you're a Christian. You're a Christian nationalist. What does that mean? I'd like to know, because I don't know what it means. I don't know what you're talking about. But check this out. A person who strongly identifies with their own nation and vigorously supports its interest, especially, listen to this, to the exclusion or detriment of the interest of other nations. That's the definition. I'm dumbfounded. That definition, are you telling me that I don't recognize the nationality and the interest of a German for the country of Germany? Of course I do. I'm an American. I got a U.S. passport, born and raised in Southern California. Do I denounce and exclude my friends that are born and raised in London? They're Englishmen? Am I denouncing those who I know in the Philippines? They're Filipinos. I'm not excluding them. But not you guys, because normal people listen to this podcast, but let's say it gets out of our subscription base and it gets into the hands of some crackpots. For the record, I love Canada. I love Canadians, and they make the best syrup, and I just love going to Canada. You guys, listen how insane this is. Because the other political group is getting very nervous over this upcoming election, they're going to really stoke up the flames of Christian nationalism. Let me tell you what Christian nationalism is not according to my definition. I'm going to listen. NBC has theirs. Well, I don't recognize yours. I don't identify with NBC's definition of Christian nationalism. I have mine, and I live mine based on my interpretation. So think about that. You're gonna do the same, but nobody's being honest enough to say it. So here it is. I love the United States so much that I would go to war to defend it against an invader. When I say the United States, I don't love our politics. I despise our politics. We're sick. The U.S. politics is ill, sick, godless, and lunatic. But the United States government, as its founding documents, Bill of Rights, I want to put all of you on notice. If you hate the Bill of Rights, I'm holding you suspect. There's something wrong with you. If you hate the Declaration of Independence, I am not going to let you sleep over at my house. I can't trust you. There's something wrong with you. If you hate the Constitution, really? That's something really wrong with you. So how dare you say that? Oh, stop. These documents, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, I haven't even got to the Bible part yet. Probably won't even make it on this time constraint. The longest running governing documents ever to uphold a nation in world history. Longer than the Romans, longer than the Greeks, longer than the Persians, longer than the Babylonians, is the United States of America has been under the same governing documents longer than any other nation in the history of man. Why do you think that's so? Why do you think people are trying to break into the United States and live here? I don't see anybody trying to break into Saudi Arabia. No one's trying to break into Iran. No one's trying to break into Gaza to live there. Why? Why are people flocking? Listen, legal immigration. Did you know that all nations of the world annually, legal, not illegal, legal immigration, all of them put together do not match the legal immigration into the United States every year. Forget illegals. Legal. Why is that the case? Because people want to live here. Why? Because of our freedoms. Where did those come from? Read the Mayflower Compact. How many podcasts do I have to say that? Read the Mayflower Compact. Read documents from our founding fathers. They're available to you if you care. But clearly our Congress is completely illiterate, ignorant, and willfully so regarding these things. I love our nation's government that has not been politicized. The politicalization of our government has become a tragedy, be that as it may. Christian nationalists would be a person who pays taxes. I'm a Christian. I live in this nation. I pay taxes. Much of those taxes I pay, I'm not happy about it, but that's okay. God made it clear in the Bible. He's going to judge those people who do wrong with my taxes. So I'm okay. I'll pay taxes. And I pay every penny, by the way, just so you know that. Christian nationalists? Well, in a way, Paul the Apostle was a Israeli or Israel nationalist. When Paul the Apostle appealed to Caesar, he took his Roman citizenship at Caesarea and he appealed to Caesar. He used his political national identity to advance the gospel by appealing to Caesar. Paul the Apostle leveraged his political benefit of being a Roman citizen and appealed his case to Caesar in Rome. So, for example, I'm working right now on appealing my citizenship to the U.S. Supreme Court. Christian nationalist, go ahead and label me all you want. Ain't gonna work because I don't fall for that stuff. I'm not stupid. I may be ugly, but I'm not dumb. So listen, Christian, don't let people frame you into a conversational box. Don't fall for that. Well, I'm not going to speak up, Pastor, in my pulpit because I'm afraid of being labeled a Christian nationalist. If what? If you hold voter registration, did you know that's all you need to do now is host voter registration at your church, which is a constitutional right and freedom that we have, and we exercise that here 52 weeks a year. Did you know that's legal? But if you're a coward, you are going to pull back from that and say, I'm not going to do that because I could be labeled a Christian nationalist. What a pathetic thing that you would allow people who are lost, people who are doing everything, as they label you, they're doing everything behind your back to destroy the Judeo-Christian foundation of this nation that was given to us. Oh, that's another thing. Christian nationalists want to make all of us Christians. No, we don't. Are you kidding? We've read our Bible. Most people are going to hell. Did you know that? Jesus said that. Bible says that. Most people are going to hell. We know that. We're not trying to make this a Christian nation or everybody Christian. Can't do that. We don't want a Christian government. We don't want a state church. We want what our founding fathers gave us. Our founding fathers were very, very particular in giving us a government that atheists and believers have all the exact same rights. Did you know that? By the way, I'd like to say this right now, and I'm deliberately going to say this right now because I've basically had enough. I've been covering for this guy for far too long. There's a certain particular pastor in our region of Southern California who for decades told his church never to get involved in politics, never to get involved in government, never vote. It's evil, it's wicked, stay out of it. And that pastor now is starting to change his tune a little bit. I just heard him this morning say in a Q&A, you should vote for someone who holds the closest Judeo-Christian worldview possible in the next election. Guess where he got that exact verbiage from? He completely disagrees with our position on everything and will not even do us the honor of allowing, I've asked him to speak at conferences about the rapture, which he claims to believe in. But he told Ben Shapiro, by the way, that the Pilgrim Fathers violated God by leaving England. They should have submitted to the King of England and never come here. That is a profoundly ignorant statement to make, especially when you use the benefits of the Pilgrim Fathers to preach in your pulpit a freedom that was given to us by our Pilgrim Fathers. Then to turn right around and to say that we must always exercise Romans 13 and be submissive to the government. Always. And then COVID hit. And the county that he's in hit them hard. And instead of him obeying and staying consistent with what he taught about Romans 13. He was, listen, the government said, shut your church down. According to his own preaching, he should have obeyed the government instantly and shut the church down. Which, by the way, he did, and then says he didn't, but he did. And claims that they were open the entire time. They were not. But Romans 13 says, according to him, we have to obey them. And then they come and they sue him. They sue him for parking. They sue him for gathering. And according to his own theology, he should have paid them every penny that they were suing him for. He should submit to the government. Okay? He should submit to the government that he says you should always submit to, and the Pilgrim Fathers never should have come here because they should have submitted to the Crown of England. Then they turn right around and they sue the government. What? No. You should have paid the government of your county every penny they wanted. You should have obeyed, and according to your logic, you should have obeyed everything they required of you. Because the Pilgrim Fathers never should have come here. You should always obey Romans 13. Excuse me. Romans 13 says that we are to obey those who have been appointed by God because they are ministers of righteousness to do good. The moment a government does bad is when we obey God rather than man. But that wasn't announced. That wasn't put forth. That wasn't made clear at all. No. You never should have sued and defended yourself against the county that was suing you. You should have paid them everything that they wanted. Why? What's my point to this? A Christian nationalist, when the world defines a Christian nationalist, they're doing it wrong. And in fact, the point that I just made a moment ago regarding this particular individual, they're starting to wake up based upon a recent Q&A they did that Christians need to vote for people, even if they're not Christians, they need to vote for people who hold the closest worldview. Even if it's an atheist who's pro-life, you should vote for that pro-life individual. When that person used to say, don't even vote at all. What's happening? Reality is coming around. That's what's going on. In light of that, is that pastor now a Christian nationalist? No, not according to CNN. Okay, we're not going to go with CNN's definition. The truth of the matter is, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's and to God the things that are God's. Meaning California belongs to God. Caesar belongs to God. The presidency of the United States belongs to God, as does the Crown of England belong to God. Those are secular institutions. Of course, I understand that. Under the sovereignty of God, meaning God raises them up and God takes them down. How does he do that? He does it by war. He does it by intrigue. He does it by voting. Some people have a hard time letting God be that big. Sovereignty of God, sovereignty of God. But you live in a country where you can vote? That's legal? Then you're supposed to obey the laws of the land, are you not? Then get up off your duff and go vote. Did you know in the recent elections a few weeks ago here in California, and it's true nationally, I have so much more respect for Democrats who go out and vote in huge numbers for their sick, perverse ideology, their godless platform. I have more respect for them. Because did you know that Christians 2 weeks ago when they had a chance to vote, at least in California, did you know what they did? According to the data, they didn't vote at all. Why? They're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. They claim to believe in God. They live in America. They live in California. And God provided for us the opportunity to go and vote. And that was provided to us by the blood of those who gave us those freedoms. And the Democrats went and voted. Why? Because they're smarter than we are. They're crazy, but they're smart. Because that's their religion, by the way. Government, politics is their religion. They don't have a God. Democrats, sorry. Look, I got to tell you, man, I'm going to say it again. You cannot be a Democrat and be a believer in Jesus Christ. You can lie to yourself all you want. Jesus Christ is not an abortionist. Jesus Christ does not attack borders and say they don't matter. The God of the Bible established borders. He says so. The God of the Bible is pro-life. He says so. So if you're a Democrat and you say you're a Christian, that means you vote Democrat, which means you vote against the Bible. Actions speak louder than words, so I have no interest in you. But the fact of the matter is this, that the, so to speak, conservatives who claim they believe in God and God gave us freedoms and liberty don't even have the guts to go up and get up off their bum to go and vote for the right people. Because either A, the church is much smaller than we think it is, which I do believe that is the case. I believe the church in America is like this big. Claims to be this big. But what we claim and what we do, there's such a Grand Canyon between those two things. No, listen, all my progressive whacknut CNNers, don't worry. Don't worry. The Christian nationalists that you're concerned about, I don't think really exists. They're not out there. I will tell you this, that I hope there's some Christians who are educated, know history. They remember how slavery was ended in this nation. They know how injustices were dealt with in the world, in political areas, from cutting the feet or hands off of women who violated Taliban rule, or the stop burning the wives of deceased Hindus in India, right? It was Christian involvement that made that stuff illegal. It's Christian involvement that stopped slavery in America and in England. So when you want to talk about Christian nationalists, how about this? There are Christians who live in nations who are going to vote a biblical worldview. You don't like the way they're going to vote, so you have to foam at the mouth and go into a rage and figure out something to do as your eyeballs roll in the back of your head, and you come to the conclusion, let's just start repeating Christian nationalists, because somehow we can connect that with lunatics of Nazism, or Christian nationalists are the ones who must have invaded the Capitol, which is interesting now because the hearings that are taking place right now, looks like there was a lot of federal agents involved in storming the castle on January 6th. Very interesting stuff going on. Who were those people anyway? You don't know CNN, you don't know NBC, you don't know, but you know this. They're Christian nationalists. Isn't that amazing? It's kind of like an explosion that takes place in the news reports. Live behind us, you see the building that just blew up. We don't know what happened. We don't know what's going on here. But we know this wasn't terrorism. Oh, you're so quick to say that. We don't know what happened, but it wasn't terrorism. Really? And as always, time goes on, it finds out it was terrorism. My point is this. Friends, listen, I'm speaking to the Christian community at this moment right now. Don't be afraid of people labeling you, because they're going to label you because they don't know what to do with you. Because they can't understand the God that you worship. They can't understand that you are to let your light so shine before men that when they see your good works, that's in the day of judgment, these naysayers are going to have to give God the glory for you standing for pro-life, for you standing for borders, for you standing for law. Did you know, and I'll end right here, did you know that Candace Owens just recently interviewed Chris Como of CNN fame? I don't know where he's at right now. I think he's at First Nation or Nation, what? News Nation, just a collection of a bunch of crazies. She asked him, do you believe that illegal aliens should vote in America in an election? They're not Americans. They don't pay taxes. They're here illegally. Do you believe that they should vote in the presidential election? And he said, yes, they should vote. That is beyond sick. If I were a soldier, a Marine, an airman, if I worked for the NSA, CIA, or FBI, or DHS, I would take that kind of response as a threat to national security. Because when people come in here who have no concept, they don't even know who George Washington was. They've never heard of the Mayflower Compact. They can't tell you what the First Amendment is. They don't know what the Second Amendment is. And you're going to have them vote? I know what you're up to. I'll end with this. If you knew that they were going to vote conservatively, Chris Como, would you still say yes to that? What if? What if every illegal alien wound up voting Republican in this last election, in this upcoming election? You know how fast the Democrats would shut down the border? Oh my gosh. Am I the only one who sees through this? It's absolutely amazing. Friends, you're not a Christian nationalist, not according to CNN. You happen to be a Christian who lives in your country, who, according to Jeremiah 29:7, you are commanded by God to seek the welfare of the country and of the city in which you dwell, for the Lord has placed you there, for its welfare and for the welfare of its citizens. Jeremiah 29:7. I'm commanded to seek the welfare of Chino Hills and of California and of the United States. And if I don't do that, then I am ditching my responsibility before God. CNN can never understand what I just said because these are spiritual truths that they cannot discern because they're lost. I believe Jesus could rapture us today. I'm hoping he comes today. I'm going to vote in this election if he doesn't rapture us. And I'm going to keep doing that with one eye on the ballot, one eye on my culture, and one eye looking up. So I don't look to expect this to a Christian nation. I don't want a state church. No Christian nationalist I know of does that. If they do, they're weirdos. And these mountains of influences, I don't even know what you're talking about in that stuff. But be careful, friends or foes, how you paint Christian nationalists. Because if we don't know what you're talking about because it can't be defined clearly, how in the world can you know what you're talking about? But that seems to be the way you operate.
This Jack Hibbs podcast, as well as all the broadcast outreach opportunities, are listener supported. Will you consider partnering with us through a special gift? Go to jackhibbs.com to learn more and stay connected.